way this just happened. A meeting between Pat Riley and Jimmy Butler grows extremely emotional for one side. I'm here to break down all of the new information that we have on this meeting between the two parties on this episode of Heat Digest. But first, before we get to the news and information, remember, if you're a part of the 85.5% currently watching this video, not currently subscribed to the channel, and you want to stay up to date on everything Miami Heat, scroll down, click the subscribe button. We do appreciate all the love and support, so thank you guys so very much for everything. But now let's get to it and break down the huge news on Pat Riley and Jimmy Butler. Now, as we know, Jimmy Butler has been traded to the Golden State Warriors for a handful of assets, where we believe the Miami Heat have gotten substantially better, at least for a trade made for a star player in the middle of the season. But it seems like Pat Riley had a meeting with Jimmy Butler before this trade took place, where he tried to connect with him on a human level. And again, it grew very, very emotional for at least one party. Now, shout out to The Athletic as well as Sam Amick and other authors who were a part of writing this article, where again they were breaking down really this meeting between Pat Riley and Jimmy Butler, and really just how this relationship between the two parties, as well as Jimmy Butler and this entirety of this Miami Heat organization, really just grew to crumble to the ground as the bridges continued to burn, event after event after event, suspension after suspension after suspension. And again, we're now going to break down the article again, written by Sam Amick as well as others, where it goes on to say this. According to multiple league sources with knowledge of the meeting, tears welled in Riley's eyes as he attempted to connect with Butler on a human level. Both men had lost their fathers, and Riley's famed toughness faded in the moment as he thought of Butler mourning his father's death last season. But Riley's vulnerability did not land with Butler. The player viewed Riley's behavior as, quote, unhinged, end of quote, a league source close to Butler said. So again, before we even get into the rest of this article and the depth of this article, I will say this is a bit different from Pat Riley. Now, if we all know, if you don't know, I will say, I'll start with that. If you don't know Pat Riley and you just know him as an executive of this Miami Heat organization, I'm here to tell you, please go to YouTube. Please go to Google and type in the young man's name. And when I say young man, I'm being sarcastic. Pat Riley has been involved in the game of basketball alone. Now, I'm not talking about his age. I'm talking about how long he's been involved in the game of basketball for 400 years. And I'm serious. He's either been a player, he's been a head coach, he's been an assistant coach, he's been an executive, he's been a president. He's been involved in basically every facet of the organization when it comes to professional basketball. Obviously, he's played on the NBA level. He's won championships as a head coach on the NBA level. He's won championships as an executive on the NBA level. He has been around the block hundreds and hundreds of times. And this, again, you may be thinking, Houston, you're exaggerating a little bit. Go look at the resume. It literally never ends. He's as old as dirt. I love you, Pat Riley. Please don't come after me. But again, he's been involved in the association and involved in the game of basketball for so long. There's a reason they call him the Godfather. There's a reason he has an aura surrounding him. There's a reason he comes off as intimidating in person. If you've ever witnessed him in those pictures, if you haven't seen him in person at the Heat games, sitting in the stands, analyzing what he's watching in a mood that just doesn't seem pleasant, whether we're up 40 or not. He sits there with his championship rings and he looks at you like this, emotionless. There's an aura about him. It's almost a bit creepy. It's intimidating, but again, it's awesome because he's Pat Riley and he's so damn good at what he does. He's been so good for such a long time. And the point of me bringing all this up is because this is something we don't ever see from Pat Riley. A very human side of Pat Riley, an emotional side of Pat Riley, especially in a stage where he's trying to not cope, but really find a middle ground and an even ground with a star player who is extremely disgruntled and upset and not happy with the current state of the organization and his state involved in this organization. So what does this mean? Well, we'll move on with the article, as Sam Amick, as well as others from The Athletic, go on to say, from Butler's vantage point, Riley was, quote, unhinged and disturbing, end of quote, as a league source close to him described it. More specifically, Butler told those close to him that the longtime team president referenced Butler's recently deceased father several times during the meeting, offered, and I quote, unsolicited and unwanted, end of quote, parenting advice, and even shed tears before ending the meeting by telling Butler he loved him. Now, This is just getting weirder and weirder as we continue. But again, it seems very true. We trust the Athletic and Sam Amick specifically very, very much. They are credible sources in themselves. And again, saying and sourcing players or people close to Jimmy Butler involved in this situation is very interesting, and it's very, very telling that not only is Pat Riley to the point where I don't know if he was itching to try to keep Jimmy for at least the remainder of the year, trying to mend a bridge and reach out on a human level, not and just put the business side, put the basketball to the side, put the business to the side. Let's have a conversation man to man. And it got, I'm not to say it got weird because, again, I wasn't in the room. I did not witness the conversation. But again, based off of how Butler is describing this, or at least sources close to Butler are describing this, it's coming off as a bit just creepy in the sense of this has nothing to do with what we have problems with. This is very unrelated to some extent. Obviously, I'm upset about how this state of this team is currently constructed. Over the past 6 years, I've given you effort after effort after effort, heroic performance after heroic performance, and again, offseason after offseason, you failed to go out and get players like Damian Lillard. You failed to go out and get me credible help with substantial names. Yes, I know I am a huge fan of the team we currently have. I'm just arguing from Jimmy Butler's perspective, at least from what I could assume this conversation should have looked like. At least from what Butler was assuming this conversation was going to look like. Things didn't go well through this part of the year. Obviously, the last few seasons, we failed to go get Damian Lillard, as well as other credible names to put alongside you in the sense of blockbuster names, as well as teams like Boston, New York, Indiana, and they go out and they reload, and then they're good, and then they reload again, and then obviously Miami we go out and get Alec Burks and a few undrafted guys, as well as Khalil Ware and Pella Larson in the draft, and again, it's just very interesting to see how things have played out and the lack of conversation as it seems there has been between Riley and Butler, as well as the rest of the organization, that left Butler really disgruntled to a way to that resulted in this conversation trying to save the relationship that was obviously far too late, as again Butler and the suspensions had already been taken place. At least the first two had before this conversation took place between Riley and Butler. It's just very, very, very odd, but to see these two parties who are so tough. Obviously, we discussed Pat Riley's aura in a way already in the beginning of this video. We don't see him crack this way ever. That's what we mentioned earlier. And now that we're seeing something like this happen and we're being told about it, it's just very interesting. And obviously, I'm not going to say maybe Riley's age has something to do with it, but again, it could definitely be a piece of this puzzle. It's just very, very odd to see this type of really something like this be flipped over for the first time. We haven't seen the side of Pat Riley, at least not in years, where we involve so much emotion in the sense of raw emotion where he's crying and he has tears in his eyes and we're discussing death and the late fathers and late family members. It's just very, very odd. Now the article would go on to say, as frustrated as the Heat were with Butler, the same went for Butler with the Heat. The franchise saw a player who put his own interest above the team, a cardinal sin in the church of Riley. I love that. The Heat's exasperation ran so deep that they changed course after Riley initially proclaimed in a December 26th statement that they would not be trading for Butler. So again, as we all know, this season wasn't going as planned. There was conversations about Butler being traded. There was speculation that there was trades being offered, and Pat Riley came out again on December 26th, and said, we are not trading Jimmy Butler. If you guys remember, the Miami Heat Twitter account, as well as the NBA officials, they came out and reposted all of this because we never see it. And again, in the actual tweet, I'm paraphrasing again, but it was very close to this. We never do this. We never discuss publicly outside noise, but it's gotten to the point where it is an actual distraction to us and the team. So we have to come out and say this. We are not trading Jimmy Butler. Obviously, again, that is what they're referencing from the December 26th statement. Again, but obviously that fell through as, again, the emotions, the overall tension between the two parties grew to a point where it was unsavable. And it's no surprise, as again, Pat Riley and the rest of this team, it just got to the point where Jimmy Butler was unhappy from year to year. He was giving us heroic effort after heroic effort, getting us to the NBA Finals with a team of undrafted players and a bunch of players who have not found their potential yet. Duncan Robinson, Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero, who are all great players who are going to lead us in the future. But again, a few years ago, they had not got to the point where they are now, as Tyler Hero is having a career year this year. Again, he had not gotten to that point. Bam Adebayo has not been as well-rounded as he was not as well-rounded as he is now. Again, Duncan Robinson had not found his groove. Again, players like Khalil Ware, Pelle Larson, as well as others that were not on the roster. And again, we did not rebuild in a way like these other substantial teams did, like Boston did, that were in constant championship run after constant championship run. Teams like Denver, who did, again, reload. Minnesota, OKC, New York, Indiana, all these teams going out, being good, not being good enough to finish the job, and going out and reloading to then be better. Something Miami was failed to do. Obviously, the whole Damian Lillard drama, trying to bring him alongside Jimmy Butler, as well as other star players, Kevin Durant and others. Again, nothing ever happened. And again, our biggest acquisition this past offseason outside of the draft, in the two-way players, if you will, and Kashad Johnson as well as others, was Alec Burks. Again, something that Jimmy Butler has vocalized about being upset. And again, we can't really blame him. And it's just very odd. Overall, it's very weird to see this all take place. And now we're getting ideas and credible information that says that really the emotions boiled over in a different way. It wasn't like we were in an argument about, hey, why are you so unhappy here, this and that, and Butler arguing about his points, about how you didn't give me the help and you didn't do this for me, you didn't give me the contract extension. They were discussing what they were discussing, and again, the emotions grew high. Just very, very odd from two very tough individuals to have a conversation in that sense with that type of character. Just very weird. Again, let me know down below what you guys think about this entire situation. I will see you guys on the next episode of Heat Digest.